So, crisscross applesauce. We talked about all these different parts of parallel lines the other day. So, we're going to go through these and talk about their angle measures. So, if I have parallel lines, draw it up here. And let's hope that they're actually parallel. That looks about parallel. And they are cut by a transversal. That was horrible. Cut by a transversal. There we go. Okay. Now, we need to remember very important information about them. So, alternate exterior angles. So, if I have this exterior angle and I have the alternate of it, it's going to be right here. And if we look at the size of those two angles are congruent. They are congruent. And I really, I'm not going to like this. It's going to erase this whole thing. I knew it was going to do that. Okay, so let me redraw that line. There we go. Haha. Okay, so if I'm talking about alternate interior angles, so I'm talking here and here. If we look at those, they again are the exact same size. I'm going to erase these now before I write them. They're also congruent. If I'm talking about corresponding, top right, they are also the same size. So those are congruent. Then same side exterior angle. So here and here, they're on the same side of the transversal. This time, they are not the same size. These are actually going to be supplementary angles. That means that they add up to 180 degrees. So let's look at same-sided interior. Again, one's obtuse and one is acute. These are also going to be supplementary angles. Oops, I did not mean to write that. Vertical angles. No matter what, vertical angles are congruent to each other. These are congruent. And a linear pair. So that means when I'm talking about a linear pair, it's these two here, or it was these two here. They make a line. Okay, anytime you have two angles that make a line, you are going to have supplementary angles. Now, what if the lines aren't parallel? So let's say I have one that's going like this and one that's going like, I'll say down here, and then it has a transversal. Okay, so alternate exterior angles. So I'm talking here and here. If you look closely, those angles are not the same. They are not the same. So these are not congruent. And I'm just going to use the congruent symbol. I'm talking about alternate interior angles. Look at those two. They are not the same size. So these are not congruent. Corresponding angles. If I look at this and this, they're the same ones I looked at a minute ago. Again, those are not congruent to each other. Same side exterior angles. Now you can't really tell with these, but no, these are not going to be supplementary. And I'm going to give you a hint. This is also not supplementary. Okay? Now, look at vertical angles. Guess what? Vertical angles, even if they're not parallel lines, they are still congruent. Oh, I did it again. That's okay. If I talk about a linear pair, if I talk about these two angles right here, they still make up a line, so they are still supplementary. Okay, so now we're going to look down at this drawing that's on to the right. And the diagram, transversal T, this one is T right here. And these two are parallel lines. M and N are parallel lines. Now, we're going to classify the given pair of angles. So something from this list up here. And then we're going to find the angle measures. So let's look at this. Angle 1 and angle 4. If I look at 1 and 4, these two right here, they make a line. They make a line, so they are a linear pair. Okay, and before I do that, okay. So if they're a linear pair, that means the angle 1 is supplementary to it. So that means the angle measure 1 plus 106 equals 180. Subtract the 106 from both sides of the equal sign. The measure of angle 1 is equal to 74 degrees. So this is 74 degrees. So then let's look at 1 and 8. So I'm going to look at 1 and 8. Looking at those two right there. Those are same side exterior angles. What do we know about same side exterior angles? They are supplementary. Look at that. Same side exterior, supplementary angles. Same side exterior. Well, oops. If 1 is 74, that means that this is 106 because we already did the work right there. So angle 4 and 5. So I'm talking this angle right here and this angle right here. What kind of angles are those? They're on the same side of the transversal and they're on the interior. So they are considered same side interior angles. Same side interior. And that means that they are also going to be supplementary. Well, angle 4 is 106, so that means that angle 5 is 74. Then angle 2 and 4, so I have this angle here and this angle here. Those two angles are vertical angles. And we know all vertical angles are congruent, so angle 2 is 106. Then we have angle 4 and angle 8. Oh. 4 and 8. Angle 4 and angle 8. They are corresponding angles. And we already know the measure for angle 8 and then 3 and 5. So these two angles right here, they are alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles are congruent. So 3 and 5. Since 5 is 74, that means that 3 is 74. Okay, so this next diagram, A and B are parallel to each other, and they have a transversal of P. It tells us that angle 1 is 40 degrees. We're supposed to find the angle measure of everything else. Well, guys, angle 1 and angle 5, those are corresponding, so that would make that 40 degrees. 140, sorry. And angle 5 and angle 4, this one and this one, aren't they alternate interior angles? So that would make that 140 degrees. And then angle 4 and angle 8, those are corresponding, so that would be 140 degrees. Now we have to figure out angle 2. Well, the measure of angle 2 plus 140 equals 180. I subtract, I get the measure of angle 2 is equal to 40 degrees. And angle 3, that is a vertical angle, so that is equal. Angle 3 and angle 6, those are alternate interior angles, so they're congruent to each other. Angle 2 and angle 7 are alternate exterior angles, so they're congruent to each other. Okay, so let's look at this. UCLA Avenue and Bruins Way are streets that are parallel. They both are crossed by Dodgers Road, the transversal. There are 8 corners. And we're going to figure out what kind of angles these are. So if I look at Walmart, which is right here, and I look at the police station, we want to know what kind of angles are those 2 angles right there. Those are alternate exterior angles. So we're going to put alternate exterior. Then I'm looking at the bank and Walmart. So bank's here, Walmart's here. They're both in the same exact spot on the other parallel line. So that means that these are corresponding angles. The next one is the swap meet in the mall. So I have the mall here and I have the swap meet here. They're straight across from each other. These are vertical angles. Okay, so the next one has the house and Walmart. So Walmart's here, the house is here. They make a line right there. That means that they are a linear pair. So the next one is the hospital and the swap meet. So here and here. They are both on the interior. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. So they are called alternate interior angles. Okay, then the post office and the house. Post office is there, the house is there. They would make a straight line, so this is a linear pair. Then we have the post office and the swap meet. They're both on the interior, but they're on the same side of the transversal. So these are considered same side interior angles. And last but not least are Walmart and the mall. Walmart and the mall. They're on the same side of the transversal. They're exterior angles, so they are same side exterior angles. Okay. So down here we're going to be finding the missing angle from each one of these. Okay, so if I look at this, okay, this is 70 degrees. And this right here, these are same side interior angles. So y plus 70 would equal 180. So I subtract 70 from both sides. I get y equals 110. So if this is 110, this is also 110 because they are vertical angles. So 110 and 110. These right here, now some of you are like, what? Okay, so let's kind of do this. This right here is parallel to this right here. This right here is a transversal. Kind of ignore the other line. So I'm talking about this angle right here. We know that that's 40 degrees. And we know this angle right here, those are alternate interior angles. So that means that those two angles are congruent to each other. So that means Z is 40 degrees. So this one is 40 degrees. Then, if instead I was looking at this line, we have this angle and this angle. Those are alternate interior angles, so they're also congruent to each other. So Y would be equal to 80 degrees. Now, all the angles inside of a triangle add up to 180. So x plus 120 equals 180. Subtract 120. Get x equals 60 degrees. So x is 60 degrees. This next one. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, some of you are like, oh, it's too much. No, it's not too much. If I look at this right here makes a line. So if we know it makes a line, then we know the measure of angle 1 plus 130 equals 180. I subtract 130 from both sides, get the measure of angle 1 equals 50 degrees. So this is 50 degrees. Now, there are two ways you can look at this. First of all, this right here and this right here are vertical angles, so that makes it 50 degrees. But if you didn't see that, you could have also seen that these two angles right here together also are a linear pair. So we have 50 degrees for 1 and 3. Now we have to find angle 2. Well, we have this right here, because this side is 90, that means this side is 90. So we have the measure of angle 2 plus 50 equals 90. Subtract out and get the measure of angle 2 equals 40 degrees. Okay, so we're going to be finding the types of angles, their relationship, and the measures. So here we go. So this angle with this angle. They're on opposite sides of the transversals, so that means they're alternate. They're also on the outside of the parallel line, so that means they're exterior. It means alternate exterior angles are congruent to each other. So I take 19 plus 10x equals 129. And I solve, so I would subtract 19 from both sides, get 10x equals 110, divide by 10, and get x equals 11. So we've got 11. Then, didn't we already say that the angles are equal to each other? We know that this angle is 129, so isn't that automatically 129? Okay, so let's go to this next one. This angle right here and this angle right here, they're sitting in the same spot, the top right-hand side of the transversal on each parallel line. So that means that these are corresponding or congruent to each other. So I take 8x plus 9 and I set it equal to 57. I subtract 9 from both sides of the equal sign and I get 8x equals 48. Divide by 8 and get x equals 6. We said they're congruent to each other, so isn't the angle that's missing 57? Okay, let's look at this one. They make a straight line. That means they're linear pair. It means that they are supplementary. So 5x plus 15 equals 180. I subtract 15 from both sides, get 5x equals 175. Divide by 5 and get x equals, that goes in 3 times, is that right? With 2 left over, 35 times. Oh, I forgot to write supplementary. So, if I take 2 and I multiply it, sorry, I did all this ski-wampus. And, oh, did I mess up on this? I did mess up on this. I subtracted wrong. Good thing I was paying attention. I subtracted wrong. This is 165 and divide by 5. And that will get me x equals 33. There we go. So we still have 2x plus 3x plus 15 equals 180. And it's solved up there. I'm not going to resolve that. But I plug in 33 here, and that would get me 66 degrees. So I have 33, I have 66 degrees, and then if I plug the other one in, it's 3x plus 15. So that's 99 plus 15. So that's a 114. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, then this one. What kind of angles are these? They're on the same side of the transversal, but they're on the interior. So they're same side, interior angles. That means that they are supplementary to each other. So let's solve that, or let's set it up. It's not going to be plus, it's actually going to be minus because it says -3 plus 19x equals 180. Okay, so I'm going to do, it's going to give me 25x plus 5 equals 180. Subtract 5. 25x equals 175. Divide by 25 and x equals 7. Okay, so that means 7 goes here. And if I have 6x plus 8 and I replace 7, x was 7, 42 plus 8, that would get me 50 degrees, so that's one of the angles. And the other one is -3 plus 19 times 7. So -3 plus, that's 63. That's 133, so 130. So 130 degrees. And last but certainly not least, these are alternating, so it's alternate. They're on the inside, so they're alternate interior. Alternate interior angles are congruent to each other. So I just set them equal to each other. 40 equals 2x minus 10. Add 10 to both sides. Get 50 is equal to 2x. Divide by 2. And 25 is equal to x. Then we already know that they're congruent to each other. We already have this as 40. So that means